How's it going? What's up? Welcome back, all of the fans of the Unofficial Commentators podcast. It's gonna be a fun episode today, not because of the reason I'm gonna mention, but because it's gonna be chock full of surprises. Uh, I just got off the telephone with Packy, and he's experiencing a bit of a blackout. As most of you may know, I record from Brooklyn, where we don't typically suffer from those issues, but he records from Santo Domingo. And today is one of those days where everything is against us recording the podcast together. But it's a really important week in podcasting. It's a really important week for our fantasy football league. And I felt like the show must go on. And I could have recorded this solo, but I decided to bring in a special guest. As promised, I have a very special co-host today. I'm sharing my cousin with you guys. For those already in the league, he's pretty much your cousin as well. Cousin Juan is my co-host today. Cousin Juan, what's going on?
Yo, what's going on, people? What's up? What's up?
Yeah, so I'm recording here from Brooklyn. He's all the way in Georgia, keeping us company today, filling in for Packy. And what you got to tell me, man? What's going on in Georgia?
Man, same old, man, but regular. I like the weather down here. It don't get too cold compared to New York.
It's playing games out here in New York, man. It's like 40 degrees one day, the next day is 56 and raining. You bundle up because of the rain, man, but you sweating inside those stupid ass jackets and coats. It's an issue.
Yeah,
Gotta live with it.
yeah, man. Especially when you get in them subways.
Oh, subways are the worst. I don't even know how to feel in there. They got some heat on. It's cold outside, but you wearing all this crap. It's terrible.
Yeah,
Yo.
okay.
So we got a really fun show going on today, man. We couldn't stop recording today because it's the last week of the fantasy football league, and there's a lot of other things we want to cover. So, with that being said, tell the people who you are, man. If they don't know Cousin Juan, for those of us listening, we mention you a lot. We've talked about the report card on many occasions. Tell us about the Cousin Juan,
Right,
man.
right. Man, I'm just a regular guy, man. I'm a sports head, of course. You know what I'm saying? I love basketball, you know what I'm saying? I grew to loving football also. And my favorite team, football wise, is the Eagles. You know, I fuck with them. McNabb left me there. Like I fuck with them because McNabb left me there. McNabb, Westbrook, um, Dawkins, that gang, they left me there. And I seem like a bandwagon kind of jumping on another team. I do like other teams, but I stay with them as my favorite. My Knicks, man, my Knicks has let me down in basketball, you know what I'm saying, many years, but as of tonight, we 500, we 9
Right?
9, so you know,
Yeah, we broke
got
even, man.
got good,
I've been saying
got
over
good
and
things to look
over.
forward to.
I've been saying over and over. It's baby steps. We're at 500. We're in striking distance. We're technically just a few games behind the leader on that division. So just got to keep pushing. Got to keep grinding. Speaking of
Yeah,
basketball,
man.
though, man, what are some of the things you've been looking forward to this year in terms of basketball? I mean, is
Man,
there? Go
just
ahead.
seeing how things gonna play out with Durant being in that new system. Also, you know how All Star the voting, how that's gonna play out, who's gonna make it, who's not. We actually in the chat spoke about that, how Clay was gonna take a hit. He so far kind of took a hit. He kind of took a step back. Um, but we knew that was gonna happen with Durant. Well, at least I did. You know what I'm saying? Then you know, also Westbrook seeing what he's doing, we was excited to
Woo,
see.
my man. Woo!
We
It's
was
a
excited to see that,
it's a new
to see
era,
what he's
man.
capable.
I love me some Russell Westbrook.
Right, we was you know, eager to see what he's capable of doing by himself. You know, the record may not be his best, but his numbers is looking out this world.
It's early in the season, but what do you think about Russell Westbrook averaging a triple double?
Um, I mean, it's been done before. You know, some of us, well, most of us wasn't, you know, of age to recognize or know when the Big O did it or whatever. But or as many times as Magic put up triple doubles, but or even Bird. But Russell Westbrook is putting more of an emphasis on it because he's almost effortlessly like every night now.
Yeah, he did it against the Knicks 2 nights ago and against Washington today.
Yeah, it's like almost every night or every other night. He definitely could get 10 points in one quarter, so that's not a problem. He leads the league. He leads his team in rebounds, as we spoke a little while ago.
Yeah, talk about crazy. Positionless basketball, man. He had 18 rebounds today.
Right. And then his will to attack the basket and his skill draw people to help. So he's always just dropping off little passes and getting his dimes.
Is there anyone who is more of a one-man fast break than Russell Westbrook?
No. Even though you know where I stand, if I had a choice, I still go Harden. But
no, it's not the same. Harden has a game, in my opinion, that could last longer, just for the simple fact that it's not necessarily based on athletic. He moves really close to the ground. Yeah, he can jump, he can get up there when he needs to, but a lot of his points now are coming from three-pointers and just, shots. They don't depend so much on the fast twitch muscles. So he can do that for longer, maybe, because, it's yet to be proven whether or not Russell Westbrook is a human or not. But yeah, right. Harden could do it for a while. I was thinking you were going to go actually after Antetokounmpo. Like, if anybody can grab a rebound and
that's
run
my guy also.
The whole length of the floor, just get by everybody with his handles. And then Duncan, I'm thinking you'd probably go Giannis.
Yeah, Giannis, that's my guy also. It's funny you brought him up. They're barely on TV, man. We barely get to watch them. But I caught some of them the other night. Some of the matter of fact, last night versus the Cavs, and he gave it to him, man. I think he had like 29 and 11 or something like that.
Yeah, 34 points.
He was going in. He had a few dunks also.
Yeah, he was mainly matched up against LeBron, and he really owned them. I mean, LeBron had 22 points by the fourth quarter. They even sat all the starters down. They were like, man, whatever. And it didn't really matter at that point, but they kept him. Kid kept all his players in the game. Antetokounmpo ended with 34 points. He matched his jersey number. It's an interesting note that you mentioned there. You mentioned Milwaukee yesterday. They're kind of my guilty pleasure. For anyone that knows me, basically since I've been of my own sane mind to pick a favorite basketball player, it's been Jason Kidd. So watching the Bucks is kind of a guilty pleasure to me.
I could vouch for that.
Yep. A lot of good teams lost to bad teams yesterday. Like I don't think of you as a betting man. I know I'm not, but if you were betting last night and you kind of have that habit of betting against the weaker teams, they shown yesterday, man. It was the Nets rather beat the Clippers, the Magic, whose team I usually tend to forget. They beat the Spurs. Milwaukee took out the Cavaliers in kind of a impressive fashion. It was 118 to 101. What do you think of that? Does that mean anything this early in the season?
I mean, any given night, you know what I'm saying? Some teams just have an off night. It's just a coincidence that a few teams had an off night. Then also, a lot of teams are not bad teams. They're just like one piece away. Like, speaking of which, Milwaukee, I spoke with them highly last year. I thought that they actually had it with MCW at point guard. I thought Jason Kidd was going to mold him into something, but I guess that didn't work. And I thought the Pelicans also, but they just never worked out with the injuries with Tyreek Evans and Holiday. They're looking pretty okay this season, the Pelicans, because Holiday came back. Shout out to his lady, overcoming that brain tumor, whatever it was.
Ouch.
He came back from that. Yeah, he came back. He was sitting out from that. He been playing pretty good. The Brow been killing it all year, and they have a pretty decent team over there, but they're playing better than I expected.
We actually talked about the Pelicans. If it wasn't last week's episode, it was 2 weeks ago. I'm kind of disappointed, man. I thought they would have been better, but I guess what you mentioned about the injuries has a lot to do with it. I expected them to be a lot better. I thought that Buddy Hield would kind of come in and change the game. You know,
I think
high.
it's too early for him. I thought the same thing, and then I've seen him in gameplay. I think it's a little too early. It might show after the All-Star break or maybe next year because it's just his size. He's a scoring guard, but he's undersized, so it's gonna take him some time to get used to.
What is it, like 6'4"?
Yeah, like 6'4", but then he's not looking to set nobody up. So he has like a Kobe game. He's looking to score.
He was kind of
You know?
one-dimensional in college. I don't watch a lot of college basketball, but that was kind of his thing. He was a scorer first before anything else. What's up with your man, though, J.R. Smith? What the hell? Did you see what he did yesterday?
Yeah.
Yo, man, J.R. Smith is
I
wildin'.
mean, of course, media's gonna make it more than what it is. He was just happened to got caught off guard talking to Terry, something that he shouldn't have been doing. I mean, being caught off guard shouldn't have been doing. Talking to Terry. Now that I don't see the crime in that, but not while play, of course, but he just happened to get caught off guard, man. And then the media made it more than what it is, and him knowing that the media was gonna make it more than what it is, then he entertained it in his fashion. And
You think it misses that New York media? Because, with all that being said, that kind of got swept under the rug, man. Like, that would have happened as a Knick. They would have benched him,
yeah.
talk about, like, get off my team, all that other garbage.
Yeah, well, I seen a Cavs fan. One of my mans posted, the Cavs just bored. They just can't wait till the playoffs.
Oh, that's the story. Every time they lose, they've only lost 3 games, but still, every time they lose, it's the same story. Oh, they can't wait till the playoffs. Honestly, I can't wait to the playoffs, man. It's a lot of basketball, and when do you consider like it's appropriate to stop saying that it's too early in the season? I mean, we're approaching 20 games, right? So 21 games is right around like a quarter of the season. When do we start taking it seriously? Is it after football?
We as the fans probably, but the players they should. I think they should start stepping on the gas before All-Star break. I think teams that wait, some teams may wait too late to try to get things going after when they come back from All-Star game, and then all the pressure builds. That's what I'm hoping doesn't happen to our Knicks, where we are after the All-Star break pushing for the 8th seed, and
they're trying, man. I think they're the 7th seed right now. They're trying to win games early, but I don't know what it is, man. It's just disjointed. I don't understand the plan, honestly.
well, from the games I watched, the offense doesn't look bad. We are moving the ball. We look decent as a team. We move the ball, moves, pick and rolls, cuts, back doors, things that I didn't see from Knicks teams in previous years. And but it's just the defensive side. We're not getting stops. People just get what they want, do what they want with the Knicks. Like they get whatever shot they want, whatever play call, they get it. We don't shut nobody down.
Today's game ended 106 to 104. Man, I'm drawing a blank what team they were playing. Minnesota.
I think Minnesota.
Yeah, 106 to 104 against Minnesota. But weren't they blowing them out at one point? Is it the defense that let them get back in the game?
I'm not sure what was it. It had to be the defense, but when I checked the score, we was up like 15, and then I heard you read the update that Melo Hicks took the lead with a 2-pointer. I'm like, what?
Yeah, he won the game with 2 seconds left.
Yeah, that's another one under my boy, man. But he needs to step it up too, man. It's just he needs to be more consistent, man.
They're winning the ugly ones. All right, so we talked about the Clippers, man, and we talked about the Cavs. Clippers have dropped 3 in a row. Interesting game tomorrow, though, Clips and Cavs. Who you got there?
Hmm. Hmm. I'm gonna say Cavs because they're gonna rebound. They're a championship team. They're that kind of caliber team. They're gonna rebound a little stronger than the Clips. Even though the Clips are trying to prove themselves this year, so they have a motivation to bounce back strong, which they will. I'm sure is that the Cavs probably just gonna
I mean,
outplay them.
the Clippers have dropped 3 in a row, man. If they drop four, I don't know what kind of strong, is it Hulk strong that they got to bounce back? I mean, it's some crazy shit.
Well, they were doing pretty good. I think they had the best start in franchise history.
Yeah, yeah.
So
That's
they're to a pretty good start. Taking
that's
four in a row wouldn't it will hurt, but it's not something they can't come back from.
we can only hope so. So another one of your mans, Mike Conley, he broke his back. I guess he was carrying his money to the bank. What happened there?
Man, we were actually debating earlier this summer about Mike Conley, man, when he got that big contract. Um,
I
I
think
forgot
he,
who.
I think he got one of his
I,
checks and changed it all into coins. He just decided to carry like a big bag of coins. Broke his back.
that did it. That definitely did it.
It reminded me of one of those Mike Tyson quotes. Yeah, I broke my back. It was spinal. Ah,
Oh
shit.
man,
He's out
yeah, man,
six
but
to
he,
8 weeks with something called a process in his
yeah,
process fractured his back. I don't even know
yeah,
what the hell that is.
man. I don't want to talk negative on any injuries with the lineup that we have. We're praying every night nobody gets injured. So.
Yeah, man. Woo. I feel like we should make what I'm drinking every episode part of the show. I got some stuff today called Blue Agave Infused Oculto. It's beer, but it's infused with tequila. Some crazy shit right now. I'm feeling nice. What you got in your cup?
Right, right. I was sipping on some ginger ale, man. Yeah, man. But this who's sponsoring my situation.
Is it a school day?
So,
Ginger ale.
nah,
You got a tummy
no. So
ache?
I use it for digestion.
Put that down. Get that out
But
of my
yeah,
fucking screen. All right. Well, I think we covered everything NBA that I was going to cover this week, man. I had some notes I wanted to make about UFC. I know you're not necessarily a fan, but I'll just mention it, just kind of a overview. And if anyone wants to comment, they can add it in the comment section, and then we'll discuss it further, maybe in the following episode when Packy comes back. But the UFC, man, they were.
fuck you, Pat. I'm taking your slot.
You should have
It's
started.
over.
You should have started Bortles, Pack.
Yeah, you should have started Borders, Pat.
I love that
He
one, man.
was
That was a
tight.
funny one.
He was tight that. He was tight that week.
My man. You don't even know. That's that Thursday that we landed in Orlando, and he was telling me like, yeah, like what was I supposed to do? It already happened. Yeah, he was tight. So
Shout out to Pac.
the UFC got a couple of fighters, not even UFC, just MMA in general. They decided to team up and start a fighters union. All major sports have unions, so let's see how this works out. It's still too early to tell what the results will be. Kind of mixed reviews. A lot of people in the management of UFC are thinking of those fighters as potentially being villains, like they see them as enemies. I guess, big business doesn't want anything to do with unions. Another thing is, Daniel Cormier was supposed to fight in Toronto on my birthday. He's the champion for the light heavyweight division. He had to pull out because of a groin injury. I think the injury happened when
Ow.
his balls sucked all the way up his scrotum because he was afraid of fighting Anthony Johnson. If you ain't seen him, cousin, Anthony Johnson is a very scary dude. He looks like he always got that look like he just came out of jail, but he's really like a gentle giant. But he will knock you the fuck out. Like, that dude ain't there to play, man. He's one of those dudes that does not get paid by the minute. And Conor McGregor, I just read before we started recording that he got his boxing license in California. So maybe there's some truth to the rumors that he wants to fight Mayweather. Maybe you have a take on that. the general way of thinking is it's kind of a money grab. There's no way that
It,
Mayweather's going to lose a boxing fight against McGregor.
um, that is the general thinking. The devil's advocate to that is McGregor's way of thinking to that, and a couple people's way of thinking to that on the opposite is, what if he lands? Like, has Mayweather been hit by somebody as strong as him before or whatever? But also, has McGregor thrown punches with boxing gloves on before? Because he used the MMA gloves way differently. So,
Well, to answer your question, he has. He has thrown. He's boxed before, but they're not at the same level of boxing. And I can't figure that you would throw a few punches and miss and wouldn't get frustrated and want to kick him. And that's obviously not allowed in boxing. Another thing is he meaning McGregor had to give up his 145-pound belt. I forget what weight division that's called, bantam or featherweight or something of the sort. But he had to give that one up, mainly because he hasn't defended in almost a year. And now he got the lightweight championship at 155 pounds. So there was rumors that it was hard for him to cut to 145 pounds. What does Mayweather fight? Isn't he like 135, 138, something of the sort? Like, I don't think McGregor can drop to 138 pounds to fight Floyd.
and maintain his aggressiveness.
It's just his
That's
energy, man. I mean, how do you cut that much weight? Like, you either have to dehydrate or you can't cut it worth of muscle. So he was already looking sickly when he had to drop down to 145 for weigh-ins. I don't know what's it going to look when he drops to 135, if he even tries to. So they have to agree to some kind of catch weight, and that doesn't favor Floyd. So bottom line, this is kind of just to fuel the rumors, but I don't think this is happening.
I don't think it is either. If it does happen, it'll be all for the money and entertainment. And regardless of which, of course, I believe Mayweather will be the winner, and McGregor would just like laugh it off, like probably joke it off like, well, I gave him a better fight than a lot of you boxers,
Yeah, that kind of sounds like him. That sounds like the move. All right, man. So
and he gets the big check, and what can you say?
So speaking of main
And
events,
he still has his belts, and he still has his belts, and
his belts, and he'll have a license, and he'll have a boxing record, even if it's a losing one. I mean, he'll have done more than a lot of people.
It does more for him than for Mayweather, actually.
Yeah, you could say that. I mean, losing leaves him in a good position no matter what. While if Mayweather loses, man, he has a lot more to lose.
Right.
It's interesting. Let's see what happens. I don't think it's going to happen, but the possibilities out there. They're taking all the right steps, and they keep us media people buzzing. All right. Speaking of the main event, man, we've talked some basketball. We've talked some UFC. Let's get into the football, the bread and butter of this show. So this week's focus is
bread and butter.
Hot peas and butter. All right. Is that a game about getting your ass whooped? I was reading the rules on hot peas and butter. Come and get your sub. You run over here and get your ass whooped. All right. So this week's focus is Week 13 of the League of Haters Fantasy Football League. Before we get into that, I just want to briefly go over some of the awards. At long last, Pimpin' Breezy has the high score of this fantasy week, 155 points. You don't know how many times I was the second highest score, and it didn't even matter because I still lost. The low score, probably his most pathetic showing to date, F.U. Ben Affleck, 78.1 fantasy points. The blowout was in that same matchup where Dago's team, this week he's called something different than what he's called last week. He dominated that head-to-head, that old-time rivalry against F.U. Ben Affleck, winning by 35.5 fantasy points. The narrowest win goes to my co-host, So Loyal Action Boss, who beat Thursday Night Stack Correction by 4.4 points. Still hoping that Stack Correction does not come through this Thursday.
Right.
The Lucky Award. The Lucky Award is the one we win when, you have the lowest score, but you still win. That actually goes to Dago too. I mean, a lot of awards here for that one matchup. He got 113 points, which any given week is good. There would have only been. Sorry, wait. I think I calculated that wrong. So there'd have been about 11 teams that would have beat him this week. Everyone scored high this week. And,
Man.
I slept on this one, and I'm so sorry. I'm apologizing to you guys. This is recorded, but it is live, and I'm going to get you the top performer right now. Top performer, it's going to be Drew Brees. Drew Brees had a massive week this week, man. 310 yards. Massive week this week. He had 310 yards. He had 4 touchdowns. I think it was 5. He might have run one in. And 4 touchdowns. And he had a fumble, which, he probably would have ended up with a better week, but he still ended up with 31.5 fantasy points based on our scoring breakdown. Speaking of scoring, speaking of winners and losers and picks, our picks go as follows. So after last week, I had picked 25 correct matchups, and Packy had 28. Well, I had 4 this week, bringing my total to 29. Packy had 3 this week. That brings his total to 31. So I'm within 2, and this is a make it or break it week, because this is the one that's going to determine, who buys who dinner. I think Packy's coming to New York in about 2 weeks. Cousin, if you're not doing nothing, you should come hang out with us for Christmas.
I'm working on that.
Yep. All right, so let's go over what happened last week, man. Let's talk some recap. So the first matchup I want to talk about is going to be, it was called Great Walls of Fire against FU Ben Affleck. Both teams were 5-5. And tell me how it broke down for Great Walls of Fire, whatever Dago's team was. Le'Veon Falcon, I think you have him there.
Okay, give me a second. Yeah, all this name changing, man. These guys are throwing me off, man. I don't know who's who. But yeah, he had a strong game by Bell and Taylor, and a decent game by Kelvin Benjamin, and that was basically enough because everyone else was pretty much quiet. The other guy had to pretty much stink it up because those are the only people that stood out to me on his lineup.
Well, speaking of stinking it up, Cam Newton did not look well against Oakland, but even then he still got you 19.4 fantasy points. Everyone else was basically invisible. Playing on Thursday night, Frank Gore only got him 3.6 fantasy points. Another Thursday game was Theo Riddick, who ended up with 8.3 fantasy points. Larry Fitzgerald against Atlanta, we thought that they would be able to exploit some of that defense. Basically, you go down the line and everyone had single digits. Your only double-digit players were Cam Newton. You had double digits from one of your defensive players, Mark Barron. And then Adam Vinatieri had 0 points. And Adam Vinatieri had been one of the more consistent kickers, but he missed an extra point this week that canceled out the extra point that he made. And, he missed a field goal, canceled out the extra point that he made, and that's how you get 0 points from your kicker. Like I said, man, 78.1 fantasy points is one of his most pathetic showings this week.
Dago won that matchup, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. I guess, his team name served the purpose because Bell basically was the standout for him.
Yeah, he's pretty much playing around with that Le'Veon Bell name. This week is called the Le'Veon Falcon. Now, what really hurts here is the chances for them to get in the playoffs, because at this point, so Gary loses. It brings him down to 6-6. So he had kind of a lead on some other teams, and we'll talk about that later. But now I pretty much tied him. I think he's tied with the Real City Butterflies. So he's in a dangerous position now. And even if Le'Veon Falcon loses this week, they still have a tiebreaker. So it's not looking too good for him right now. All right, so the next matchup that we're going to discuss was the Landon Calling against Hyde the Blunt. 8-4, or now 8-4, Landon Calling. You have him as auto draft queen.
Right.
Uh, he ended up losing to Hide the Blunt. I didn't see that one happening. Tell me how that happened. How do you lose?
I don't see how that happened because Shady had been good pretty much all year. He had another pretty good game. Well, I see why he had a letdown by Julio Jones. You know, Julio Jones been up and down, up and down. He'll have one good game, one bad game. So it's hit or miss with Julio. And then he had an empty slot, which is a zero for his defensive spot. Um, so
That, that's
that's
kind of
how.
that's kind of been the way he's played this year. Remember when he played against you? He had that empty slot. Because the game is close, he decided to pick up a defensive player last minute. It ended up being the dude
Right.
that got the pick six, and that's kind of what put him over.
Man, you had to remind me of that.
I mean,
I forgot about that.
it's been a while.
That shit was crazy. It's just
Uh,
crazy. I can't believe I'm still 8-3 or some shit like that. So shout out to me on that.
the,
I think Julio Jones only had 5.5 or something like that. So two slots gave him 5.5. So that would probably hurt.
yeah, I mean, despite the fact that Dak Prescott looked pretty good with 21.7 fantasy points and Shady McCoy beasted, it still wasn't enough. You know, poor production in a lot of different slots. He was only down by 11 points, man. I think I would have taken a chance and picked up a defensive player and just kind of prayed for something to happen, but I don't know. Coming into Monday, he didn't
Like
do anything.
like he did against me.
Hey, man,
It
football.
could it could have been anyone on the field who picked. Oh man, I don't even want to talk about it.
Could have been a damn ref. Nope. It
It,
was him.
nope, it was him, the guy he picked up last minute, pick six, 40
Now,
some yards.
now that defensive player not playing kind of cancels out the fact that Eric Ebron played, but he scored a donut. No points there. No one looked incredibly impressive, but there was a lot of consistency here. So you get 14 points from a defensive player. Tyreek Hill, I believe, had all of the touchdowns in the Kansas City against Denver game, 28 fantasy
Yep,
points. Don't look for him to repeat that. Dante Moncrief looked impressive. I think he had the only touchdown in that game against Pittsburgh. Without Andrew Luck, that team just looked pathetic. Matt Ryan held his own
right.
again, at least as far as this team is concerned. He kind of replaced Andrew Luck. And Carlos Hyde looked okay against Miami. Nothing to write home about, but 18 fantasy points today makes up for the fact that he's been kind of weak. And I called it with LeGarrette Blount. 6.7 fantasy points is not what you were probably expecting from him. Didn't matter this week though. It got you enough for you to win. Hyde the Blunt takes this matchup 128.5 to 117.2.
Yep.
All right, and then the next matchup we're talking about is my own matchup. I beat Chef in command, Chef Rogers in command. Pimpin' and Breezy took it this week. I actually had to outscore the entire league. Only by me getting the most amount of points this week was the only way that I could breathe easy. And I think that with that loss, I pretty much took Chef Rogers in command out of the running. So, I don't know, man. It's going to be a tough one. What do you got to say, man? Tell me how well he played and why it just wasn't enough.
Well, he did play well. It just wasn't enough. The reason he played well was because he had Mark Ingram and Michael Thomas, which are New Orleans Saints, and you seen what big game Breeze had. So that just transferred over to them. Most of them benefited from Breeze's game. So that kept them up because they both had big games. Cousins outplayed Badman Rogers, but he was on the bench, so that ain't help him out much. Um, and it just worked out in your favor because the players he had, they needed your guys to throw them the ball, to give them the ball. So
Yeah, that's the way it breaks, man. I would have been able to breathe so much easier if Breeze decided to go more Snead and Cooks and less Ingram and Thomas, but that's kind of the way the cookie crumbles. I was looking forward to Matt Forte coming back. That was kind of a letdown, only 6.5 fantasy points. Antonio Brown cooked on Thanksgiving, 3 touchdowns. Drew Brees had 4 touchdowns. We went over that already. And
right.
look at my man Justin Tucker, and tell me if that wasn't a difference. 19 points
Man,
from my kicker.
Man,
it's like
I wondering who had him the whole time I was
me. I've
watching.
actually gone through a few kickers this week, but yeah, he was. This is kind of why I picked Justin Tucker and hung on to him. Um, I don't know if someone had him and kind of let him go or just kind of used him for a week, but I saw him
I think
after. You
I
had him?
want to say I did. I want to say I did, or I had him a previous year, but I remember having him one of these years.
When I went to see the Giants and Ravens, I saw him. I saw him kicking, and I saw that he hadn't missed a field goal all year, and I think he's still perfect. So I was like, man,
Yeah,
this is probably someone I should jump on. So pause, by the way. And
yeah,
that 19 points there. My defense didn't look bad either. Vontaze Burfict and Sean Lee combined for 23 points. So
nice.
it was just my night. It's going to be a
Yep.
little bit tough this week, though, because I don't understand how the hell in Week 13 we still have bye weeks. I'm going to be without Terrell Pryor. That's going to hurt me. Next matchup, EMCC Brawlers played Beware the Dog. I put the kiss of death on the EMCC Brawlers, and it worked. Beware the Dog actually beat him, and I think they took him out of contention. So, I don't know, man. I'm hoping that this Beware the Dog becomes kind of a streak, because if he's Doggo this week, I'm in a good position to get into those playoffs.
Is that why he traded away his players, man?
No, it was EMCC Brawlers that traded away the players.
Yeah, because he got beat out of contention. Come on, oh.
Packy seems to think that there's a little bit of shadiness there. I think it was a fair trade. I don't understand. Like,
I kind of missed the whole conversation today in the chat.
so the way I see it, Omar wants to win this week, but even winning this week, you're still going to be 6-7. I don't think that any team that's 6-7 is going to get into the playoffs. It's going to take a winning record to get in. So he's doing everything to win. He's going to be without Murray. He's going to be without Derrick Henry this week. So neither one of his running backs. He has one on the bench, and then he's going to start one that he got on the trade, which is Tim Hightower. Now, with that being said, you pretty much traded away this week for the future of the playoffs. Like, let's say there was a possibility for him to get in, and I don't know that Omar did the math necessarily, but let's say that there's a possibility he gets in, and then he has to face the team that he just traded Gronk and Dez to. Now you end up, getting your ass kicked by the very players you traded.
hence to my rule of why I don't make. Even if I need that position, I'd rather go to the free agency or waiver and pick up somebody, or take my chances, do some research. Who likes this defense? Who usually has big games on this, whatever, and roll my chances with that. What offense is hot? Take my chance with one of those players rather than make a complete somebody else's team.
I know what's going on, man. You look kind of blurry on my side of the screen. Are you in witness protection all of a sudden?
Nah, man. I had to make sure, man. I was gonna make sure I did that, man. I'm in my crib. I'm not in jail. I got to. I'm not,
Yeah, I think your internet's acting up.
Yeah.
Well, that was what happened this week in terms of trade. It's by all accounts it's fair. I just think it's kind of dumb. That's kind of my point of view.
Yeah.
Why didn't EMCC Brawlers win this week?
Well, man, he had a big game by Adams. Adams put up some numbers. Murray was kind of a letdown, but having Henry and Murray as a handcuff, it kind of evened out because they gave him 20 points combined. I want to say, so that kind of you want to divide that by two. You could say each one gave him 10, which is decent. It's okay, but he had a 0 from Thomas. From
Ouch.
Thomas, as a defensive player, and zeros is not, they usually hurt. So I don't know exactly. Who he played against again?
He
Oh,
played against
that
Ali.
yeah. So I don't know how close exactly the score was because I don't have it in front of me, but That zero might have been played a big part.
It was 116 to 101.
Man, defensive players could give you any. Well, we'll get to that a little later.
Yeah, yeah. A good defensive player can either win or lose you any given matchup. On the other side of the coin, Russell Wilson. Sorry, he didn't have a great game. I do that all the time, man. I don't know how many people do that. I'm going to submit that to a poll. How many people mess up the name Russell Wilson and Russell Westbrook? But Russell Wilson, he didn't put up a monster game, just 10 fantasy points. Spencer Ware, 10 fantasy points, but you wouldn't have known that until Sunday Night Football. Latavius Murray had a decent game, 16.3 points. Odell Beckham's 24 points. You know, I'll take him however I can get him, but honestly, they basically they get canceled out with Devontae Adams points.
Yeah.
And then the fact that you get 15 points from your defensive player, Kiko Alonso, while Earl Thomas gives you a 0, you know what? 0.
That was the difference.
And you won by 15. There you go. So if you know how to do any math, which obviously Omar doesn't know how to do because he traded away good players for the playoffs, those 15 points is what knocked you out of the playoffs, my man. The 15 points from Kiko Alonso from your Miami Dolphins. Take that, you
Kiko!
bitch. Love him some Kiko Alonso. Witten is Coming played Amari 2600 this week. I've been looking forward to the downfall of Amari 2600, but he played it smart. You know, not that he could have done anything different. He was kind of, he played the hand he was dealt. But he won a lot of games early on, and now he's kind of crumbling heading into the playoffs. He lost this week. Main reason why he lost, he didn't get enough breakout performances. Jonathan Stewart looked better than expected against Oakland, but Devontae Booker looked kind of weak. I forget the name of the dude that's up and coming in Denver, but he got more run. Amari Cooper kind of let you down. I told you that it's kind of hit or miss. You know, it's either going to be Crabtree or it's going to be Cooper. This week it was Crabtree. Hell of a catch this game to kind of seal the game this week. Amari Cooper kind of quiet.
He stays losing his helmet too.
What's up with that?
What's up with that? Yeah.
Get a helmet that fits, you bum. You play in the NFL. Shit. Gary Barnidge is not oh God, the Cleveland players. Corey Coleman did okay against the Giants. Gary Barnidge is not a player you want to start all the time. I also think he got hurt during that game. I don't remember the exact details, but yeah, it looks like he hurt his knee and he didn't make it out the whole game. Robert Kelly, who came through for you in the clutch last week and pretty much decided that game for you, not so much this week. You didn't get a chance to pee all over Jason Witten is Coming. What did Jason Witten is Coming do this week, by the way?
Well, it was just another pretty consistent week again for David Johnson. That's been pretty much the horse he's been riding, and that's pretty much the horse he rode this week because not impressive, but good win. Everybody else was pretty much mediocre.
Okay. Blake Bortles, Packy did mention that he kind of had a good feeling about Bortles. He started him this week, 21 fantasy points against.
You started him this week, huh? I think things went downhill for Packy when he let Wilson go early.
He had this whole mentality about not wanting to wait, like now is now, and this is the only way I'm going to win this week, and it didn't work out at the beginning, and he's catching on now, but I think it's too late for playoffs.
Yeah.
No, the good thing for him though, he's not going to end up with the worst record. Or actually, I think he might be tied right now with Vasquez. Anyway, we'll look over that. I already talked about Amari 2600 and why that didn't work out. So next matchup we're talking about is going to be the Real City Butterflies. They played against Brady's Girly Men. I actually had a feeling that Brady's Girly Men wasn't going to bring it this week. For some reason, I'm getting the impression that the players that he drafted, they're kind of hitting the wall. Tom Brady had a normal week. He was kind of being Tom Brady. the fact that he didn't really have his tight ends to rely on did kind of hurt him. He still won this week against the Jets, but that was a nail biter. If anybody saw that game, it was really, really close. Only 18 fantasy points for Brady, 11 for Todd Gurley. That's nothing to write home about. Against New Orleans, he should have been able to exploit that matchup, and he didn't. Doug Martin against Seattle, even though Tampa Bay looked decent, not decent is not the word. They looked good against Seattle. They looked better than I expected against Seattle. It was mainly the Mike Evans show, so not much from Doug Martin. And a lot of consistency after that, a lot of double-digit points. Willie Snead, Jordy Nelson, Delaney Walker. But then you get a 0 from Antonio Gates, and that had to hurt. And I actually picked Real City Butterflies to win this week. It was a narrow win, but a win nonetheless. How well did they do, and where did they impress?
Well, they matched up each other's 0 because he had a 0 by Brandon Cooks.
Right.
It ain't hurt him winning chicken dinner. You want to run with that one.
All right, so we're coming up to the end of the recaps, and we're recapping a So Loyal Action Boss against Thursday Stat Corrections. Funny, so you got the So Loyal Action Boss, and you got the Marshawn Lynch avatar. And not only did we get the stat corrections, but he also put in the Iverson practice little avatar.
Yeah.
This guy went all in on the trolling. He went all in on the trolling, but it didn't matter. So Loyal Action Boss won his second in a row. So Loyal Action Boss. I actually thought that Melvin Gordon was going to make the difference for you this week, and it didn't work out that way. What was it that beat this other team?
Man, no touchdown from Gordon, no problem. Carr had a subpar fantasy day, no problem. Mike Evans, Sanders, Von Miller. Shout out to Von Miller. Big 17 points. See, that was the point I was making earlier about a defensive play with Omar. With Omar, right?
Omar's team, Kiko Alonso,
Yeah, Von Miller, 17 points. That came through. Baby Gronk, it was a decent game. They all carried the load, and they got me over this week.
All right. Thursday stat correction decided to bench Andy Dalton, seeing as how Andy Dalton has a season-ending injury. If you didn't know what injury I'm talking about, he lost A.J. Green for the year.
Oh man.
Eli Manning had a good match.
I was really lost. I was really listening. Like, where he got injured and I didn't hear about it.
Yeah, he pulled the AJ.
He pulled the AJ.
He needs to get surgery to get AJ Green back. So Eli Manning actually had a better matchup anyway against Cleveland. Lamar Miller kind of disappointed against San Diego. San Diego wasn't really known to be like a super, tough defensive matchup. Only 6 fantasy points there. And he's listed as questionable. I didn't see the game, Houston versus San Diego. So I don't know many people who were interested in that. The moment that Houston got Brock Osweiler, it was it for me, man. This guy sucks so bad.
I was trying to give him benefit of the doubt because he has a strong arm. He's tall, he has a strong arm.
You need to stop doing that shit. Stop giving him benefit of the doubt. What good is his strong arm if he's only throwing like 4-yard passes? Like, what the hell?
Not only that, bro, he can't hit them 4-yard passes on target all the time.
Yo, he for all the
bad
talk that they give me about the dude that got benched and either one of those San Francisco quarterbacks and the dude in the Rams, Brock Osweiler is a bad quarterback. I said it this week. I don't know how many people heard it, so I'm just going to say it on the podcast because what the hell. They need to, suck it up, assume those losses, pay him his money, and find a different option at quarterback. Brock Osweiler is not the answer.
Not only him, like we spoke earlier this week when you mentioned that, and I told you that we should bring it up in the podcast. Not only him, there's a lot of quarterbacks that are underperforming or just quite not impressive. Like you said, even though he had a decent game that night, Alex Smith he's a game manager, but he isn't pretty impressive as a quarterback. And There's a couple
bad.
of those.
He's real bad.
There's cut. There's
I don't like Alex
cut.
Smith, man.
Then people say Cutler's bad. Then
I don't know, man. For whatever reason, I have a soft spot for Cutler. Like whatever, I'll let some of his flaws kind of slide, um, because there's potential there. Like even at his age, and even though you're not gonna get better mechanics from him, with the right offensive scheme, he's a weapon that not every team has, and he'll throw it deep, and he can run an option. He can do some stuff. With some of these other players, man, like what the hell is Brock Osweiler doing?
Kaepernick looked better this Sunday.
Yeah, man, Kaepernick almost won that game. It was an amazing thing. They made him take a knee forcefully on the 1 yard line. Poor guy, man. He just needed to stretch out a little bit more, but nope. He decided to make a point, get everybody's attention, take a knee. I guess he was running for the end zone, and right then and there they decided to play the national anthem. So he just said, "Screw it."
He was playing it in his head. He was playing in his head as he ran.
You almost had that one, man. What's the State Farm saying? You got to be quicker than that.
Right. Then you got your boy Tannehill. Tannehill's not pretty impressive himself, so it's a lot of bad quarterback play.
There is a definite gap, a definite breach between the elite quarterbacks, the soon to be elite, and then just like the rest of the masses. There's some really bad quarterbacks. Like there's a couple of quarterbacks that I kind of feel like, man, I could probably throw better than this guy, and I'm not like a pro athlete making $1 million or whatever it is. All right, so as bumpy as those were your recaps of Week 12. Now we're getting ready to breeze through Week 13. But not before just making sure that everybody's aware of how to follow the podcast. So the Unofficial Commentators, you can find our channel on YouTube. Also find us on Podomatic. Whenever we post the links. And now on to Week 13. So Week 13, cousin. First matchup we want to talk about is going to be Amari 2600, who actually leads that division, against Chef Rogers in command, who's currently on the outside of the playoffs looking in. So, how do you expect this matchup to go down? 7-5 Amari 2600 versus 5-7 Chef Rogers.
Even though I like Flacco versus Fins, I don't like Stewart versus Seattle, and Cooper versus Buffalo can be exploited, but I'm still gonna go with Rodgers, Chef Command on this one. It seems like Amaudi's core, his core is on the bench, is on a bye. He has most of his players is Brown players.
Doodle Browns. That's not necessarily a good thing. He has 3 Cleveland Browns and a player called John Brown. And then Carson Palmer, that other guy. It's going to be a tough one, though, because for whatever it's worth, Chef Rogers in command is going to be dealing with a lot of questionable players. Aaron Rodgers looked good against Philadelphia, but he's nursing a left hamstring injury and he was limited at practice. He's going to go up against Houston. Houston isn't the pass rush that they used to be, specifically, with the absence of J.J. Watt. Mark Ingram looked great. He has a chance to look great against Detroit, but he's dealing with like a left toe injury. And T.Y. Hilton, he doesn't play until Monday Night Football, so he should be fine against the Jets. The Jets secondary quickly becoming one of the worst secondaries in the NFL. T.Y. Hilton is dealing with a bad back. And those are pretty much all of his players of note, and all of them seem to be dealing with some sort of injury. Outside of those that I mentioned, there is Michael Thomas, who you need to kind of look out for, and then Wendell Smallwood. I don't know if he's going to go with Wendell Smallwood all the way into the game, quite honestly. I don't really see what other options he has. He has Alex Collins of Seattle. I don't know what you heard about Alex Collins, but I don't even know why he's on a roster. So you
Right.
might actually end up going with Wendell Smallwood. He's from your team, cousin. What do you think about Wendell Smallwood? Does he have a chance to be any kind of significant player in fantasy this week?
I'm not sure. It's not talent. He's not lacking talent. And opportunity might be the reason because we're loaded at running back. It could be week to week. It just changes. One week, it's been for like 2, 3 weeks now. It's been Sproles. We went like 2 weeks in a row where it was Matthews, and Smallwood had a good game earlier in the season. So
And
the skill is there,
that was pretty
but
much it for him, though.
right.
Well,
It might be the opportunity.
I don't understand what Packy's seeing in terms of picks. Packy pick Amari 2600. I'm also going to go with Chef Rogers on this one. All right, so the next matchup we're going to talk about is going to be the Auto Draft Queens. This is Victor's team name this week. He's playing against the Real City Butterflies. Who you got this week and why?
I got the auto draft queen because they are loaded thanks to Omar. Julio Julio Jones, should be a good game versus Peters. If Peters is shadowing him the entire game, it should be a good game. I don't know how that's gonna transfer into fantasy. Hopefully it plays out good for him. The addition of Dez and Gronk are huge. Let's see how they do. So, Victor's pretty much just loaded, man. He has options. He has LaShawn McCoy. He has Dez. He has Gronk. He has Andy Dalton's injury on the bench. He has it all.
He has good, he has bad, he has injuries,
Yeah,
and
right.
he's not showing his hand. I mean, he has McCoy on the bench and Isaiah Crowell in the starting lineup. We all know that's not how it's going to play out. On the other
Right.
side, so Real City Butterflies is going to rely on Matthew Stafford. This week he has his 1-2 punch of Ezekiel Elliott and Jay Ajayi. Jay Ajayi is facing a tough defense in Baltimore. Baltimore is currently second against the run. They do not allow a ton of rushing yards. Seattle against Carolina is a matchup to look out for. Seattle looking to bounce back from being embarrassed against Tampa Bay. With all that being said, I am going to take the Real City Butterflies this week. I'm going against myself with saying that I wasn't going to pick against Victor again, but I don't like all the question marks on that side. And Packy is picking the Auto Draft Queen. You know what? I'm going to do something that I don't normally do. I'm going to pick the Real City Butterflies. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick the players that are talented and just have opportunity versus picking the players based on matchup. So they don't have favorable matchups. I don't like the matchup of Ezekiel Elliott. I don't like Jay Ajayi. I don't even like Steve Smith. And Tyler Eifert, that could be a tough one as well. But all that being said, I'm going to go with the player's talent versus the matchup. And I'm picking Real City Butterflies. Like I mentioned earlier, Packy picked the Auto Draft Queens. All right, Brady's Girly Men. We're just trying to breeze through these guys. There's not much to say when the players haven't played yet. Brady's Girly Men is playing Solo Action Boss. Who you got this week and why?
Ooh, I like Brady versus tough defense of the Rams. I like Gurley versus smart defense of the Pats. I like all these factors because he's going against me. So this week I'm picking. This week I'm picking myself. I'm hoping that Gurley's men turn into girly men, and yeah, we pull it out.
Whoa.
About that action, boss.
You pull it out. Wow. All right, so
No pause or nothing. We raping Brito this week.
So the 9-3 Solo Hill Action Boss is actually first in the Salami division. Pretty tough division, by the way.
Let's go.
Brito is tied for third with 7-5. So I'm also going to go with So Loyal Action Boss. I like these matchups. Derek Carr against Buffalo, exploitable. Melvin Gordon should see the end zone against Tampa Bay. That's not a defense you write home about. Tevin Coleman splits carries, and he's going against Kansas City. They're kind of whatever. I don't know who is going to try to stop Mike Evans against San Diego. That's going to be him all day. Emmanuel Sanders. I like the players and I like the matchups all the way, top to bottom on this roster. I don't see the same on the other side with Brady's Gurley Men. That being said, I did say earlier that they kind of hit a wall. I'm going with So Loyal Action Boss. Cousin, I said I want to pick against you, man. This is another week.
Hopefully, man, I need that, man. Lock down this playoff division shit, man.
Let's get these jelly beans.
But yeah, on that matchup, Mike Evans might actually have a decent matchup with that cornerback from the Chargers. I forgot his name.
Yeah, he's so good nobody remembers. Who gives a crap?
I think he's number 29 or something like that.
Speaking of not giving a crap, Hide the Blunt is playing against EMCC Brawlers. Hide the Blunt is playing to be the worst team in the fantasy season. EMCC Brawlers is pretty much out of contention, but they're doing their damnedest to win this week. Okay, who has a better chance this week? Well, how do you see this going?
Well, he went all out to win this week, so let's give it to him. I picked O to win this week. Even though I see Hill having a good game versus Atlanta, I like that matchup just because their defense don't seem to be pretty tough. But he's definitely not gonna outdo what he did this previous week. I don't like the Ryan versus Kansas City matchup because of the rush and the DBs. I haven't seen Matt Ryan handle the rush pretty well. So
speaking of the rush,
see how that plays out.
Justin Houston balled out. I know Packy's gonna give me some shit if I don't mention Khalil Mack, and Khalil Mack was a big. I saw earlier today that he was named like the defensive player of the week for the AFC. But, you know, it was the Raiders, and I was kind of out in the bar. I was watching the Seattle game. That's what they were playing. So I didn't see the Raiders. But he's always good. You always expect him to be good. But my eyes were open to Justin Houston, and that dude is an absolute boss. Damn, he was like involved in every single play. Kind of the same thing that I see with Vontaze Burfict, except it was more of a pass rush. Man, that dude was a beast. Okay, on the EMCC Brawler side, despite what everyone says, I don't think they gave up a whole hell of a lot. I mean, DeAndre Hopkins was kind of flat. Wait, sorry, you get DeAndre Hopkins. Never mind. He gave up Gronk, who might not even play this week. He gave up Dez, who's only good for about 8 to 10 points, which is respectable, but it's not a game changer. He might be, though, one in the playoffs. You're probably going to start Hightower. It looks like you're going to start with Chris Ivory. Ben Roethlisberger against the Giants. It's a dangerous matchup. I like Big Ben, but the defense of the Giants has been really good. But the Giants have won 6 in a row, man. It's going to be hard for them to get 7. I don't know. I don't know if this is the one you want to lose and then double up on Dallas this week. I don't know how that one's going to play out. That being said, I don't like the pieces you got back in the trade. Allen Robinson against Denver is not a favorable matchup. Neither is Chris Ivory. Too much Jacksonville Jaguars in this. I'm going to go the other way and go with Hide the Blunt. Packy decided to pick the EMCC Brawlers. Man, fuck the EMCC Brawlers. I'm only picking the EMCC Brawlers to give them the kiss of death. At this point, you're not even in my level, my man. Well, if I lose this week, I will be. But at this point, you're not at my levels. Fuck you. Fuck the Brawlers. I'm taking this is actually one of those games that I would win by picking neither of these two bum-ass teams. Every time I bet on either one of them, they fucking lose. Damn, this beer got me saucy. Nah, Pimp and A Breezy is going up against...
My Corona must have been watered down or something.
Dude, you need some of this sweet baby Jesus. Pimpin' A Breezy is playing against Thursday Night Stack Correction. I'm winning this week, cousin. Tell me why.
I like Forte versus the Colts, especially because he just had a quiet week. So he should bounce back. Hopefully, I have him in another league, so hopefully. I don't know how I feel about Brown versus the Giants. Should be a good matchup. Not sure which way it's gonna play out. Drew Brees versus the Lions. I expect Drew Brees to be Drew Brees, and that's why I picked you to win this week.
Drew Brees is playing at home against the Lions. I only have.
Right.
I'm looking top to bottom. I only have one player who's playing away. That's going to be Sean Lee. Sean Lee's yet to be decided if I'm going to start him. He plays tomorrow, Thursday Night Football. It's going to be Dallas versus Minnesota at Minnesota. And he's currently looking as questionable. I have another defensive player that I can sub in his place, so let's see. Speaking of questionable, we have Lamar Miller, who is dealing with a knee injury, and Jordan Reed dealing with a shoulder. Kind of opposite to what I said earlier. I have Eli Manning playing at Pittsburgh. I have Lamar Miller playing at Green Bay. Golden Tate at New Orleans. Jamison Crowder at Arizona. And on and on and on and on and on. A really good week from Jordan Reed is kind of what made him competitive this week, but he still lost. I've been saying that this team is trending downward. I would still... the defense of Pittsburgh is not scary to me, so I still expect Eli to get his points. But all that being said, I'm still picking Pimpin' A Breezy to win. So I'm winning this week. Packy actually agrees with me. I think he's trying to put a little bit of a hex on me, picking my team to win so that I actually lose. But fuck Thursday Stack Corrections and EMCC Brawlers and Packy. And the goddamn electric system in DR. All right. Who do we got next? It was FIBA playing against, the aforementioned Packy. So FU Ben Affleck is going to play against Witness Coming. 6-6 FU Ben Affleck going against 5-7 Witness Coming. Witness Coming is not making the playoffs, but he can definitely take that 3-win streak, turn it into a 4, and take a ginormous poop on FU Ben Affleck's playoff hopes. I'm hoping this plays out this way because if it does, if FU Ben Affleck wins, then he has a tiebreaker over my team, and I can't have that. Wait, no, I actually beat Gary. I need Ivan to lose. Shit, but I picked the one. All right, this is a whole mess, and I'm gonna try to go over it, step by step at the end. But who's winning this week?
I actually picked Gary to win. Even though I don't like Cam versus Seattle, both have been pretty consistent this whole season. My man Optimus Prime, Brandon Marshall, usually doesn't disappoint. So I went with Gary. Probably because of my guy Brandon Marshall, and I also got him in another league.
Have you been watching him closely, cousin? He hasn't been that great this year.
Yeah, he hasn't, but this is the worst year, and his numbers are still okay. And, he's old, and you can't blame it on him. Quarterback situation been kind of...
No, I'm not blaming it on him, but, when it comes to fantasy, it is what it is. Points are points, right? So after scoring 21 points against Pittsburgh in a close game where he had 8 catches, 114 yards, and a touchdown, he didn't have a touchdown for 5 straight games. Then he had a bye week. He had a touchdown last week, which kind of saved his day because other than that, he had 6 catches for 67 yards. He would have ended up with 10 points. He ended up with 16. And even then, he lost. Indianapolis, though, is a matchup that you look to exploit. They're not good at defense. On the other side, what the fuck am I looking at? Jared Goff? Is Packy really going to start Jared Goff? What the hell? David Johnson is going up against Washington. 25th against the run. David Johnson should romp and stomp all over them. Rashad Jennings' day will only be salvaged if he happens to fall into the end zone. I don't expect him to get anything more than like 70 yards. Let me see what his averages are. Yeah, his average is about like 50 yards. So I don't expect him to get over 70 yards, and the only way he's going to be of any relevance is if he scores. Jarvis Landry and Tyrell Williams, that seemed to work for you last week. And again, you started another player that only is worth anything if he scores. That's Matt Asiata. I'm going to go with Gary this week. Shit. Well, I got the tiebreaker over him at least. Okay, so last matchup we're going to talk about. The Malavion Falcon, very creative, versus Beware the Dog. Wait, did I give Packy's pick for that one? He is picking... Oh, he's picking against himself. Packy's also picking FIBA. This son of a bitch. This sounds like collusion. He might tank this game and give it to Gary. I need a commissioner's ruling here. Mother flower. All right, tell me about Malavion Falcon versus Beware the Dog.
I don't like Benjamin versus Seattle defense. Mike Wallace may try to show out versus his old team, the Finns. Rose is scheduled to put up 12.2. I don't know about that. I don't know if it's just, yeah, I mean, that's projection, yeah. His projection is 12.2, but I don't know about that.
I mean, he's a pretty aggressive runner, and is Luke Kuechly back yet? What have you heard?
Well, it's not just the Panthers' defense. I got Luke Kuechly on defense, and he may be questionable, but it's more how healthy is Rawls?
He's looking pretty good.
Okay.
No, he's looking pretty good. They kind of eased him into it, but once they decided to drop Christine Michael, they pretty much committed all to Thomas Rawls. Last week he didn't look great.
I seen more pro size.
Yeah, I think pro size is injured too. I don't think he's currently. He didn't play last week. Thomas Rawls only had 38 38 yards last week, but it was a bad week for the entire offense. They only scored 5 points as a team. Fantasy points were almost null there.
Right. But even though I say all that to say this, I picked the Falcons to win. And not the Atlanta Falcons.
I think the only player who's salvageable there is Le'Veon Bell. No matter what happens, Le'Veon Bell is going to perform. Tyrod Taylor against Oakland. It's a favorable matchup, but I'm taking the Oakland side. But hold on, I'm not even talking about that team. I should be talking about Beware the Dog and how Russell Wilson is going to take over that secondary in Carolina. He is going to be playing at home, and he's going to be taking advantage of the fact that Carolina has a weak secondary that can be exploited. He's looking healthy. He's going to run all over them, and they have a point to prove after losing last week. They dropped in the power rankings. They're looking to get back up there. Spencer Ware against Atlanta. Spencer Ware, he hasn't been the definite Jamal Charles replacement that I thought he was going to be, but nonetheless, he should have a good game against Atlanta. He is playing in the Atlanta Dome. Latavius Murray listed as questionable against Buffalo. I don't think a whole great deal about Buffalo. Pittsburgh's defense doesn't scare me to stop Odell Beckham. Odell Beckham probably one of the most prolific offensive threats in football. I don't know about Adam Thielen. I don't know why the hell you're starting him. Do you have no other option? And I'm not going to be able to sleep well if I don't do this. I'm going to shout out Khalil Mack against Buffalo. If Khalil Mack shows up like he did last week, Buffalo is in trouble, and Khalil Mack should definitely give you some good fantasy points. Randall Cobb on the bench against Houston. I think I would rather start him than Adam Thielen, but what the hell do I know? I don't know anything about Thielen, and Randall Cobb's doing kind of weak this week. It's on you, my man. It's your decision to make, Ali. That being said, I am going to pick Beware the Dog this week. playing the matchups. I don't like the matchups for the Le'Veon Falcon. All right, so we have previewed, we have reviewed, we've talked, we've conversed. For those of you listening to the show, those loyal listeners, we have a new co-host, a guest host today. I want to thank Cousin Juan for joining us. Cousin, thank you very much for making the time, man. I know that it's late. I know that I call you short notice, but I appreciate you taking the time to come on this recording. So this is going to be on YouTube. This is going to be on Podomatic. This is going to be wherever we're able to spread our voices. I'm going to, post a link to Podomatic on Facebook, and people are going to see it that way. So shout out your projects, man. What's been going on? Tell me about the podcast, the clothing line, everything.
Man, shout out to you for having me, man. Even though it was short notice, man, that's why I apologize on my notes. It wasn't as short and as detailed as they should have been. But like you said, it was short notice. But next time we'll make it happen. I'll be sure to be on top of everything. But yeah, man, shout out to my other co-host, Dame Diddy, at our TRC podcast. That's at TRC podcast on Instagram. And just the easiest way to find us is just go to Google and type in the Report Card Podcast and pick whatever link is more suitable to you, or works better for your situation. Also, man, shout out to everybody involved in my So Loyal movement, whether it's the music or clothing or whatever's going on, sports. Shout out to everybody that takes part in that. Me, myself, I happen to be in charge of the clothing. That's what I deal with. You can check it out at So Loyal Clothing Inc. on Instagram. Yeah, that's basically about it.
Yeah, I never miss an episode of the report card. I think it's a good way to stay relevant in music. You were actually missed this week, man. I was looking forward to a conversation where you would weigh in on the top tens. But there's always a future. There'll be time to have those conversations again. Like I said, I always tune in. You do it live, right? You got the Facebook Live?
Yeah, we go live on Facebook from the page. I go live from my page. Dame goes live from his page. So we get 3 different views while we're recording. We also got the audio. So
Right.
you can subscribe either through the audio on iTunes or Google Play or whatever you choose. Like I said, go through Google, and that'll be the easiest way. If you just type it up, you'll be able to choose whatever link is more suitable for you or works better for your device or whatever you got going on.
Right. Well, the report card's kind of the reason why I stay away from music, man. But whenever you want to come on and talk about sports, whether Packy's around or he's not, this platform that we have here allows us to bring a lot of different guests on. We've had Amaudy, we had Omar before. Anyone who wants to jump in and just talk sports with us, they're welcome to do so. Everyone who's listening, please leave your comments. Tell me what you think I said that was, totally out of pocket. Where you agree. Let's start a conversation. Make sure to comment on the YouTube site. Make sure to leave your comments on Podomatic, and you can also reach us by email at unofficialcommentators@gmail.com. That's not the unofficial, just unofficialcommentators@gmail.com. So I think there's nothing left to say. This is the end of the NFL League of Haters fantasy season. Regular season anyway. We'll be talking about the playoffs in the future. Good luck to everyone in week 13, and see you in the playoffs, cousin. Take care, my man.